Man, what's happening? You understand? It is Friday, November the 3rd, 8:46 p.m. And I really want to get into this one tonight. I have a couple things on my mind. Excuse me, I had some interesting conversations today. And before I start with any and all of that, I want to start off with some appreciations. Thank you for being who you are, and thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for speaking and being heard and being truthful with yourself. I appreciate you. I love you. So that being said, you understand, today I want to talk about entrepreneurship and what it really is. I had a conversation today, and I'm pretty sure this person is going to be listening to this. So, and I just want to say thank you for this content. I told you that I was going to talk about it a little bit. And, this is just, it just has been on my mind even after the conversation I had, and to make a really long story short, today, I have a few days out of the week that I go and I train, and typically the person that trains me, we spend some time talking about business and entrepreneurship, and so today was really good because today we got into like the meat and potatoes, so to speak, and what I believe entrepreneurship truly is. And, the first thing I want to say about entrepreneurship is that, first of all, it's hard. It's not something that's supposed to be easy. As I was speaking to the person earlier about it, I was just kind of saying that, and I enumerated some stories, and if you have listened to any of these previous tapes, especially the tape where when I was talking about grieving and letting go, I shared a story where I literally was eating rice and apples, every day because that was all the money that I had. I actually have other stories, and this is me being an entrepreneur, as in still have it, a business in software consulting, and I took a project in Arkansas and had to sleep in my car, because there wasn't enough money to go around to pay for hotels and food and things of that nature. And, I ended up having to sleep in my car in freezing Arkansas during the winter time. And, I have other stories like that. And, and as I was kind of enumerating the stories, the person I was talking to seemed like he was glazing over a little bit because, because I think really the conversation had boiled down to, if the conversation started off being about entrepreneurship, but then it boiled down to self-worth and value. And one of the reasons why entrepreneurship is hard, and there are some people that are successful, and then there's a whole bunch of people that aren't successful, it's because the people that are successful have reasons why they're able to experience those very difficult times and still make it through. Once again, the difference between those people that are, successful at being an entrepreneur and the millions of people who start businesses and then fail has nothing to do with a business plan. I know I've read a lot of books about you should have a plan, you should work your plan, and having a plan is great. Don't get me wrong. You should definitely have a plan, some idea, some goals that you have written down, and at least some form of accountability with holding yourself to the accomplishment of these goals. But don't be mistaken. Having a goal or goals, having some outcomes or a plan does not mean you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. The difference between the people that have been successful, and this is, as you all can see, I'm very passionate about this because I really believe this because I live this, is the difference between the successful ones and the ones that fail is that the ones that are successful have valid reasons why they are able to eat the top ramen soup for days on end, to be in the office until 12 o'clock midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then have to get up all over again at 4 or 5 o'clock a.m. to do everything all over again. The reason they're able to do it is because they got valid reasons. And so these reasons, again, they boil down to very basic things. The reason why I was able to sleep in my car and get up and do a quick wash up in the corporate bathroom and go and write programs for, my client in the boonies in Arkansas was because at the time I was in a relationship, we had goals and things that we wanted to do. I wanted to prove her and everybody else who sat and believed in me, I wanted to prove them right. And all the people around me who, even when I said that, hey, I had to sleep in my car, and they're like, what? I can't believe you had to. Why would you go and do that? I wanted, and that was a stupid move and this and that. I wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to be successful on that project so that I can take that money and do something good with it. I've been doing software development for a really long time, and it's not just about writing code to me anymore. It's about, okay, what impact am I going to make, as a result of this code that I'm writing in my life and in the lives of the people who are hiring me to do the work. And so my reasons for doing it kept me and saw me through that. And then I was very interested in it. I'm a risk taker, and that's another thing that you have to be able to be when you're talking about being an entrepreneur. You have to be a risk taker. First of all, it's not going to be easy. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be hard. Things that you think that won't go wrong will go wrong, but the question is, are you able to deal with people telling you no? Right? Are you deal with constructive criticism? Are you one of those people that feel that you have everything under control, but as soon as somebody comes in and say, hey, well, maybe why don't you do it this way? Or what about doing it that way? Are you open to constructive criticism? I can't tell you, and I'm speaking to myself and all those people that's listening, I can't tell you like how many people that in the last 6 months that I've helped develop a business who was just inept when it came to being able to take constructive criticism. And so, and I have, and I was, at first I was going to just, look at these notes that I have, because I wrote notes. That's how serious I am about actually talking about entrepreneurship. But I'm like, you know what, man, I'm going to just go back to this conversation because as we talked about the conversation, or as we had the conversation rather, it went to, like I said earlier, self-worth and value. And the main reason why the individual is having problems in their business because of their self-worth and their internal value system. So again, your reasons are very important, even more important than your plan. And then what comes next isn't the plan, it's your own value system. What do you believe about yourself? Okay, what do you actually believe? Do you believe that you will actually be successful? Do you even believe that you deserve to be successful? There was a book that I was reading. I'm trying to remember the name. It was written by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And the book, without looking at my phone, I think it was let me look. Give me 1 second. Because the reason I'm going to say this book is because I highly recommend it. And for all of those people who feel that, and it's called, no, I don't want to listen to it right now. Let's see. Is it The Road to Riches? I think it was the book entitled The Napoleon Hill, The Road to Riches. And then let me see. Let me look at the full title. It's going to try to play it. I'm looking at my scribed.
This is Sharon Lecter again.
Yeah, I'm looking at my scribe. So it's Napoleon Hill, The Road to Riches, 13 Keys to Success. Everybody, I've been reading books that have been talking about 13 this and 13 that. Like apparently 13 is that magic number because, and I highly recommend this book too because they actually did this book. Him and Clement Stone did this book almost like a podcast. Like it's them actually speaking and they are talking about the various keys to success. Now, the significant part of that book, and the reason why I brought it up was because there was a part in that book where there was an individual who said this, and this is specifically speaking to your internal worth and value. The scenario was the person brought out $100 bill and then asked, "Do you want this $100 bill?" And then the other individual said, "Of course. You already know I want that $100 bill." And then the person who brought the $100 bill did this. The person said, "Okay, oh, you want this $100 bill?" The person then balled the $100 bill up and threw it on the floor. Then asked, "You still want this $100 bill?" Then the person said, "Of course. What are you talking about? It's just balled up. I still want the $100 bill." And then the person who balled it up and threw it on the floor, then they began to stomp on the $100 bill and then asked, "Do you still want the $100 bill?" And then the individual was like, well, yeah, I still want it. And then the person asked, "Well, why do you want the $100 bill?" It was because, well, it's $100. And just because you stomped on it, it doesn't change the value of the bill. And the person said, aha. So why is it when we are crumbled up, balled up, when the pressure of life presses us to the ground and stomps on us, why do we feel that our value somehow changes? So let me ask, and for all of the people that's listening, that, okay, you want to be a freelancer, and for all of the single parents out there, you want to be a freelancer so bad, you want to be an entrepreneur so bad. Okay, well, can you deal with the pressure? Because there is going to be pressure. Everybody's not going to tell you yes. And just because you enjoy doing whatever skill you have, you enjoy doing it so much, you're going to have some, and I'm just like, well, how can I be politically correct by saying this? Like, you're going to have some assholes, basically, for clients. You're going to have them. You're just going to have them. And what do? How do you like, deal with it? Will you just stop being an entrepreneur and a freelancer just because you had a very difficult client? Does that mean is it going to mean that you're going to stop? And these are some of the questions that I asked this individual earlier because this person is very talented. When I say talented, I mean pretty much a genius, not almost. And what they've gone from is from one business to the next. And what's happened is that the main issue has followed them from one business that they quote unquote failed to the next. And it's actually rearing its head in this current business that they're actually developing. And I told them, I said, well, I see a cancer developing, and it's a pattern and a repeat theme that I think is essentially rearing its head once again because the individual expressed some lethargy in their current business. And I said, well, the reason why it's there is because there are some things going on with your internal value system. You don't like actually being told no. You don't actually like being, in a situation where it doesn't end the way that you have it's supposed to end in your mind. But why do you stop short of the goal just because you get told no? And if this person is listening, this question is for you still, but why do you stop? Excuse me, there's so many scenarios. I have so many stories of being in very difficult positions, but I still kept going. I can't. Okay, so I had a project with Georgia Pacific, and Georgia Pacific, for all those people who don't know, they're the people downtown with a huge building. They're the Koch brothers. And, I was brought on as a web architect to develop a user interface to manage their internal Active Directory users. And it was just me, and then it was this white guy essentially that was on the project, and then there was another black guy who was the manager for the project. And the white guy on the project he was a very difficult character. I mean, very, very rude, very harsh, very just a hard character. And when I started, guess what, folks? He quit. He interviewed me, and I was so taken up. I just was like very, very afraid that he was going to be on the project and I was going to have to deal with this. It's like so many explicatives I want to say, but it's like, but he quit. But he didn't quit like the same day. He ended up putting this week's notice in, and then like every day for the first week of the project when he was about to go, I tried to ask him questions and he never answered any of them. He tried to make my job one of the most difficult jobs ever. That's how difficult he was. And then when he left, he didn't leave any documentation. He didn't leave anything. And then the guy who was the director of the whole department loved this guy, and I was just thinking like, what kind of foolish. Yeah, man, it was really difficult. And, so what ended up happening, I ended up having to build something from the ground up. Basically, the boy, he left, and then to make it the really long story, he tried to set it up such that I would fail, excuse me. And, so I ended up having to do a ground up build from scratch. At the architect level with Georgia Pacific. Not that I wanted to do it, but I had no choice. And you would think that I would, and I've succeeded. I documented everything. I gave them a functional spec. The application worked. They deployed it. And you would think that I would have gotten a clap or a pat on the back, a raise, to be extended a full-time, contract with them. But you want me to tell you what I got? The guy who was probably still the director down there hired some other person who came in and looked at the code that I wrote and hated on everything that I did. But they deployed my code and it works today. And I wrote the functional spec, and there was just really nothing that he could say in terms of, the director he could say in terms of my coding. But, to make a really long story short, it went from one person hating on my designs to the next person hating on my designs. And then the project ended and they haven't called me back since. I sent them a text message and they're like, oh, it works great. But the guy said your code is just, he didn't understand it. And I was just like, what? And so it's just, and this happened not too long ago. And if I had my heart on my sleeve, ladies and gentlemen, I would not be programming today. Because I can't tell you how many people have hated on me in the software game as it is, as it were, so to speak. Like I've been hated on so much, that the point of it all is I've learned that over the years that I just have to have some tough skin. I have to be able to forget about all of the hate and drive on. And so, one of the main messages that I want to put out in terms of like a PSA is entrepreneurship is hard. Who cares about how you feel about it? If you enjoy entrepreneurship, if you enjoy all of the benefits of making your own schedule, defining your life, having the use of the main time, and the best time of each day that you have, then suck it up and realize that you're gonna have to do the work. I just feel like I just need to say that, because it's not gonna be easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. None of this stuff is easy. That I have so much work to do even now. I'm looking at my schedule and I'm looking at all the work that I have to do. I have about 4 clients right now. Plus I have about 2 internal projects that I'm working on. Then I have a house, I have a son, and then I have my own personal life. And I have to make all of this stuff work at once, and so none of this stuff is easy. I get up early, like 4 a.m. in the morning, and go to sleep about midnight every night. So I get exactly about 3.5, 4 hours of sleep. Some days I might sleep in to 6 and I feel so bad. It's like, this stuff is hard, ladies and gentlemen. And so unless you're ready to deal with the difficulties disciplining yourself so that you can get organized such that you'll start to see some success over time, and then this may not be for you. This is why McDonald's exists. I hate to say, this is why Burger King exists. And this is why other jobs like that exist, for people who don't actually want to do the hard work that's necessary. Sacrifice the prime time television, right? Sacrifice the video games, sacrifice, all of the other things. It's Friday night right now. I could be out at a club right now, but no, I want to be here conveying to myself and to anybody who's listening that, first of all, I'm sacrificing all of that time so that I can actually be here organizing and getting ready for not just tomorrow, but really this new month that's coming up, organizing my entire schedule, and then, looking at my book, looking at what I've done so far, weighing, looking at my productivity, looking at my client base, figuring out how I can get new clients and how I can optimize my time even more. These things that I have to do on a constant basis. And I might make it look easy for anybody who don't listen to this, but see the result of all of this hard work. They might think it's easy, but no, it's very contrary to that. And so once again, none of this stuff is easy. And let me go back to these notes that I have, because I actually did write some notes, but I'm just going to skim them, So here's some, let me say this, because then you might be saying, well, Duran, how do I know that I'm an entrepreneur? I said, okay. And especially in these notes, I say, well, who are you when no one's looking? Think about this. It's a meditative question. Who are you when no one's looking? Do you have discipline to do the stuff you shouldn't be doing? Or excuse me, let me say it differently. Do you have the discipline to not do the things you shouldn't be doing? Especially when no one's looking. Can you at least do that? Like I said earlier, can you stand being told no? Can you accept some constructive criticism? Can you sacrifice some quote unquote fun to get the job done? What was the last book you read? What was the last constructive, positive thing you heard and listened to? What was the last constructive, positive thing you written down on a piece of paper yourself, whether it's an outcome for your to-do list or whatever it was? When was the last new person you met? And here's one thing that I shared with him earlier today is, first of all, if life becomes humdrum and you just are just tired of working so hard, well, then that just means there's some room for some reinvention. Like, you just have to reinvent yourself. you know? And so, again, after all of this, and I'm sure for everybody's listening and it's like, well, what's next? I'm like, well, at the end of this, if you feel like you keep some of the stuff you agree with, some of the stuff you don't agree with, cool. You don't have to agree with the truth. People, disagree with the truth all the time. People disagree with the fact that, entrepreneurship is hard and it's supposed to be easy. People write books about it all the time, and people spend money reading those books, reading a lie about how easy entrepreneurship should be. But I'll make this statement. Anything that you get cheaply in life, did you appreciate it? Just think. Right now you can go get a $2 burger from McDonald's. But do you think that burger has any nutrient value in it? I think the cardboard box that the burger was in has more nutrients than the actual burger. You might as well eat the cardboard box. You see? And so if you actually want value and worth to exude from you, then you have to see that in yourself already. You have to know that your life is worth working hard to get exactly what you want and making sacrifice. There's nothing in this universe that's for free. So that's what I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about what entrepreneurship truly is, because it's everything most people think it isn't. So take a moment. Take a deep breath, especially if you are an entrepreneur and you are a freelancer and you have had some difficult times. I just want to say, because nobody else will say it, that I appreciate you. I give thanks for the fact that you are doing what it takes, spending the time, even now that you're listening to somebody that's not you talk about entrepreneurship. I just want to say thank you, because that takes a very big person, and that shows that you are willing to do what it takes to be successful. Now, I'm going to just share something with you that my father always used to tell me every time he used to see my head down to the ground. He looked at me and he said, "Son," and I said, "What's going on, Dad?" He said, "Well, do me this favor." And I said, "Well, what's that?" He was like, "Take your head and raise it." Until the next time.